Welcome to the Explainer. Let's jump right into the absolute chaos that unfolded at the Parc des Princes during the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. This was supposed to be just a routine outing for a football giant, but instead, it morphed into this massive, suspenseful three-act drama between France and Iceland. So let's get right into the action. We're actually going to start right at the climax. Picture this. France is desperately clinging to a razor-thin lead at home. They're down to 10 men, and the commentators are literally screaming, "A twist in the tail! Iceland will have renewed hope here." I mean, this wasn't your standard run-of-the-mill qualifier. This was a match turned completely on its head, so we've got to break down exactly how we arrived at that nail-biting point.
Act 1. Setting the stage. Before the opening whistle even blew, the momentum of these two squads couldn't have been more different. You've got Iceland walking into the stadium as the actual Group D leaders, riding incredibly high after just absolutely smashing Azerbaijan 5-0. And on the other side, we have the heavy favorites France. But they're dealing with distractions, right? A touch of controversy, specifically around injuries to PSG stars Ousmane Dembélé and Warren Zaïre-Emery. So despite the historic mismatch, because Iceland had literally never beaten France in their 15 previous meetings, the visitors were a legitimate, super confident threat right from the jump.
Act 1. Iceland shocks Paris.
The momentum swings in this game happened in rapid succession. It all kicks off with Michael Olise. Now, he was the absolute toast of Paris just days prior against Poland, but here he makes a massive, super lax mistake. He gives the ball away dangerously in his own half, leaving a pretty simple finish for Andre Gudjohnsen to put Iceland 1-0 up. Total silence falls over the Parc des Princes. The heavy favorites were suddenly completely outmaneuvered. But, as we know, this game was far from over.
Act 2. The French resurgence.
So, down 1-0, Marcus Thuram goes down in the box. Now initially, the ref waves it away. But let's walk through the VAR process that gave France a lifeline here. First, replays show Iceland's Mikkel Andersson catching Thuram from behind, very clearly treading on his heel. Second step, the referee is advised by the VAR booth to go over to the pitch side monitor to take a look for himself. And finally, after reviewing that clear contact, the referee overturns the initial call and rightfully awards the penalty to France. Just a textbook, totally impartial use of VAR to spot a foul that was simply missed in real time.
Which brings us to the number 52. With a penalty awarded, Kylian Mbappé steps up to the spot, hunting down his 52nd international goal. In a moment where the pressure was just immense and the whole crowd was holding its breath, the outcome was honestly never in doubt. He convincingly smashes it home right on the stroke of halftime. It's just a perfect display of his unmatched reliability when his country needs him most. Thanks to that strike, France gets to go into the locker room completely level.
Fast forward to the second half, and France flips the script entirely. The commentary captured this little micro-narrative so beautifully. After a lofted ball forward, Mbappé, representing the recent pass to Paris Saint-Germain, breaks away with a glorious first touch and sets up Bradley Barcola, the president of PSG, right inside PSG's glorious home stadium. Barcola finishes it, and just like that, France completes the comeback to take a 2-1 lead.
Act 3. A shocking red card.
Aurelién Tchouaméni goes into a crunching challenge on Jon Dager Thorstensen, and the commentary team neutrally laid out the reality of this tackle. It was high, it was late, and it was dangerous. Replays clearly showed the impact was above the ankle, and Tchouaméni had completely left the ground. Based on the strict rules of the game, a tackle hitting all of those dangerous criteria leaves the referee with absolutely no choice. He reaches straight for his back pocket, and Tchouaméni is sent off.
Which creates this incredibly tense, completely chaotic scenario. It's now 11 versus 10. France is forced to survive the entire final quarter of the match, a man down. I want you to really imagine the sheer pressure here. You're holding on to a super fragile one-goal lead at home against an Icelandic team that suddenly has a massive numerical advantage and a whole lot of renewed hope. Suddenly, every single defensive clearance becomes critical. Every second feels like an absolute minute.
Act 3. The disallowed equaliser.
Very late in the game, a ball gets whipped into the French penalty box. Following a terrific initial save by goalkeeper Mike Maignan, Andre Gudjohnsen somehow manages to bundle the rebound over the line. It's 2-2. It looks like this historic, miraculous night for Iceland at the Parc des Princes. Or so they thought. Suddenly, all those wild celebrations are halted. A VAR check is underway. And as the commentary perfectly noted, it will be perceived as injustice, but it's a good spot.
So let's break down exactly what that good spot was. Here is the impartial VAR logic that ultimately silenced those traveling fans. First, Gudjohnsen scores what looks like the dramatic late equalizer. Next, the VAR officials systematically check the attacking phase of play leading up to that goal. And right there, they identify a clear foul. An attacking Icelandic player is seen plainly tugging the shirt of French defender Ibrahima Konate, physically preventing him from defending the cross. So, finally, the referee goes to the monitor, sees the obvious infraction, and the goal is correctly disallowed. The rules were applied objectively, and that 2-1 scoreline was restored.
Conclusion: what this result means.
Looking at the final tally, France ends up with 2 goals, that Mbappé penalty and the Barcola strike, despite suffering a pretty crippling red card in the second half. Iceland finishes with 1, having their late equalizer chalked off after Gudjohnsen's shocking early opener. Ultimately, France managed to weather a very turbulent storm to secure 2 wins out of 2 in their opening qualifiers, sitting pretty at the top of Group D.
But it certainly wasn't easy, right? Which leaves us with a fascinating dynamic going forward. Did France show true championship resilience by fighting back from behind and surviving with 10 men? Or did Iceland expose a critical vulnerability in the French armor that other teams are absolutely going to try to exploit? It's a question that makes the rest of these World Cup qualifiers must-watch television. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch, and I'll catch you next time.